Welcome back to the Late Night Review. And tonight I want to talk about three movies that I absolutely love. There are three movies, and I've talked about it on the channel before, that I really, really like. Three movies that I have a lot of nostalgia for: Conan the Barbarian, Conan the Destroyer, and Red Sonja. All of them, of course, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger. And I saw Red Sonja at the theater and Conan the Destroyer at the theater, and also Conan the Barbarian I saw as a kid for the first time at my uncle's house, and I got nostalgia for all of them. Obviously starting with Conan the Barbarian, I saw it at my uncle's house for the first time, and then later we would rent it over and over and over again and watch it. And then Conan the Destroyer, and then Red Sonja. I love all three films. I just want to start by talking about one of the few reasons, or a few of the reasons why I love this film, but one reason that I want to mention first, these films, that I love these films, one of the reasons is Arnold Schwarzenegger is in all three of them. He's great at this. The Conan movies were really big stepping stones in his career. I know Red Sonja's been criticized a lot, but I love, by certain people, certain movie critics over the years, but I love the movie. Got a lot of nostalgia for it. I really like the characters in there. I think everyone does a good job. Ernie Reyes Jr. I know some of the critics said they didn't like how he talked and how he acted, and it kind of turned people off. But to me, he was funny. My wife and I get a kick out of him, and we really like him in this movie in Red Sonja. We thought he was not only funny, but what a great martial artist. Starting just Ernie Reyes Sr. taught him from a very early age, and he was just a great martial artist. And Ernie Reyes Jr. is a great martial artist, and he just grew up learning martial arts, and it shows in Red Sonja. And then, of course, competing, being a great martial artist and dedicated, and just you've seen him in other movies. Not American Ninja, but Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle. I love American Ninja, but Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles too. Sidekicks, the rundown with The Rock, Ernie Reyes Jr. Wow, the build on him and the athleticism. And then I've seen him in interviews talking about making Red Sonja and his other films too. But Ernie Reyes Jr., if I remember right, I saw him in an interview, and he said one of the funnest times he ever had was making Red Sonja, and being there with Arnold, working out with him, and I think Franco Columbo too, because he had a small part in the movie, and practicing riding horses, training with the swords and the weapons, being out in nature in the country, and those costumes were handmade, I think, in Italy. And he said it was just one of the best experiences and funnest of his life. And I can imagine that too. And it's one of the main reasons I like the film too, is because of it in Conan the Barbarian and Conan the Destroyers. It's always in nature. It's out in the country. There's a sense of freedom. There's a sense of, being free and being a warrior and being with your friends, your companions, and being out there and camping like they are, and then going to the next adventure, the next battle. And just something about it. I just absolutely love all three of the movies for that reason. It's another reason I like all three movies. And I have to say, I love the score in all three movies. I'm just saying, I'm laying this stuff out before I get to which one I like the best. I'm going to start with the one I like the least, because I love them all. It's hard to choose. Before I put this list together, it was hard to choose. Really was. But before I start with the one I like the least and work up to the best, there's only three films. Just wanted to say why I like them so much. Not only because of Arnold Schwarzenegger's in all three of them. I mean, you got great characters in here. You have different, in certain ways, you have legends of sports and athletics in these movies. I mean, you have Ben Davidson of the Oakland Raiders. You have Kareem Abdul-Jabbar I mean, not Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, but Wilt Chamberlain, excuse me. He's in another one of my favorite movies, Game of Death. But you have Wilt Chamberlain, both of them, two of the greatest basketball players of all time. Some people say the greatest. Wilt Chamberlain, one of the greatest basketball players of all time. Some say the greatest. And he's in The Destroyer, Conan the Destroyer. And by the way, I'm doing this video casually. I'm a casual YouTuber. I got no script. I'm just kind of talking like I would if you were here with me. But yeah, Will Chamberlain, just and so big, so tall. Andre the Giant was uncredited, but he played the monster at the end in Conan the Destroyer. You have, like I said, Ernie Reyes Jr. in Red Sonja. Pat Roach, I really like Pat Roach a lot. He was in most of the Indiana Jones films with Harrison Ford, directed by Steven Spielberg. Of course, he usually plays the big guy that Harrison Ford fights, Indiana Jones fights. He played the guy with the shaved head, the big German, and in the first one that they fought next to the aircraft, and he got kind of sawed up in the aircraft. And then he was also in the Temple of Doom. He played the big guy with the beard and the turban, and he's been in multiple films. Martial artist too. He was a boxer when he was younger, and wrestler. You can see him in pro wrestling matches on YouTube. And he passed away a number of years ago, but he's always been one of my favorite actors. And then when I learned more about him, I liked him even more. And then, of course, you have Sven Ole Thorsen in actually all three of these films. Sven Ole Thorsen was in the first one. Everyone knows that pretty much who's seen the movies. But he was also in the second. He was one of the Queen's guards. And in the third, he was also one of the Queen's guards. The third movie I'm talking about, the one Arnold made third, is Red Sonja. He was in all three movies, and he's just absolutely, he was one of the strongest men in Scandinavia. He won championships as a strongman, I believe. Bodybuilder, martial artist, moves fast for a big guy. You can see him in a couple martial arts karate fights on YouTube. He's got fast reflexes, and yeah, just an amazing guy. All these different characters, and of course James Earl Jones, great actor, the voice of Darth Vader, was in the first one. I keep saying the first one. Red Sonja was supposed to be a Conan movie. His name was supposed to be Conan, but for legal reasons, and I think a dispute, they changed his name to Calidor, changed his character, but it was supposed to be Conan coming back and teaming up with Red Sonja. So I guess it would have been the third one in that case. But I love all three movies. And I have to say this, the score. You don't nowadays in sword and sorcery films and sword and sandal films and all that, and even Lord of the Rings and many other films, which are good. I love Lord of the Rings. But to me, you don't get the great score nowadays like you've got with Conan the Barbarian, Basil Poldoris, Conan the Barbarian, Conan the Destroyer, and then Red Sonja, Ennio Morricone. He did the music for The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. The Dollars series, A Fistful of Dollars, A Few Dollars More. And I love this score in Red Sonja. Some people criticize it, but I love it. I really like it. I like the score in Conan the Barbarian and Conan the Destroyer, but I also love the score by Ennio Morricone in Red Sonja. The score can make or break a movie sometimes. If it's a really good movie, the score's not going to break the movie, but a score matters so much. John Carpenter in interviews said a score, when you're making movies, music, he realized how important music was when he made Halloween. And what a great musician, not only a great director, but a great musician, creative. Wow. But yeah, the score in all three of these films that I'm talking about by Basil Poldoris, the first two, and then of course Red Sonja. Ennio Morricone did Red Sonja. Absolutely fantastic, and it puts these movies at a higher level. And of course, who has more charisma than Arnold Schwarzenegger? Answer, pretty much nobody. There's arguments you can make for certain people in acting history who have, but He's right in the top tier of all of them. So to have that as your lead is amazing. The scores are amazing. The stories to me are really, really good. I like the setting. I like Conan the Barbarian. What a character to be portrayed. No one could play it better than Arnold. Conan the Barbarian, played by Arnold Schwarzenegger, as written by Robert E. Howard, great writer, died too young. He committed suicide. He had his own demons. We all have problems. And he loved his mother. His mother fell into a coma, I believe, if I remember right. And that devastated him. And when he found out she wasn't going to come out of it, I think he took his life in his car, if I remember right. Great writer, so creative. And because of him, we have Conan the Barbarian, we have Red Sonja, we have so many characters. I think Kane and Call. There's so many characters that he created, if I remember right, and just one of the greats of all time. Life ended way too early. What else would he have done? So I guess I'll get into the ranking. And Will Smith, the guy that played in Red Dawn with Patrick Swayze, and also in Every Which Way, or Any Which Way You Can. Every Which Way But Loose was the first one, and Any Which Way You Can was the second one with Clint Eastwood. Just look up William Smith. What a life he led. He's in the military, great athlete, could do so many push-ups. I forgot how many, but just bodybuilder, athlete. He was in the intelligence services, I believe, speak multiple languages. And I know I'm covering a lot of territory, but these movies, I think, they do get a lot of credit, except for Red Sonja. It deserves more. I really like that movie a lot. But yeah, so let me get to the ranking. The one, and I love them all. I love them all. The one that I'm going to put at the bottom, and I hate to do this, and most people will disagree with me, but it's Conan the Barbarian. I love this movie. I absolutely love this movie. I really do. The reason it's at the bottom is not because it's the worst film. It's not. I would admit that it might be the best. Might be the best. So why would it be at the bottom? When I was a kid, I liked it the best. And then later I liked Conan the Destroyer the best. Red Sonja was always my number 3, even though I loved it. Conan the Barbarian's great. But nowadays I like movies that entertain me more, and if I'm having more fun and I'm entertained, I'll choose that movie over the movie that is kind of disturbing. It's not super disturbing, but when they slaughter his family, and there's some disturbing scenes in here, and then as the way his mother gets killed by Falsa Doom, beheaded. That's horrible, very disturbing. But I really love revenge movies and justice seeking movies. So he goes out to seek revenge, and that's great. That's Conan. That's what we expect from Conan, and I like that a lot. All 3 movies are about justice. The first one, if you like more disturbing movies, if you like movies that have more drama, more serious, then I think you'll like the first one the best. If you like that the best, I understand. I really do, because if you like that drama and the disturbing aspect, and then this journey that he goes on for revenge, absolutely, I'm there with you. But the reason I like Conan the Destroyer more and Red Sonja more is because I have more fun with it. I'm more entertained by it. Nowadays, I go for that more over the disturbing films. It's just the way I am. Sometimes it's just the opposite. As you get older, you kind of you want more serious movies, and you kind of get out of the more um, fun, light movies that you watched when you were a kid. To me, it's just the opposite. When I was a kid, I liked the more disturbing, graphic movies, but now I like more movies that kind of make me feel good. So that's the only reason I love all 3 films. That's the only reason it's at number 3 is Conan the Barbarian, but I love it. Coming in at number 2, this was so tough. The last 2 movies, Red Sonja and Conan the Destroyer, were both directed by Richard Fleischer, not John Milius. They both did great jobs, I think. Richard Fleischer directed The Vikings with Kirk Douglas. To me, that's important. I grew up with that movie. I love that. He directed Tora, 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 Soylent Green, Mr. Majestic. Great resume. John Milius has an awesome resume. Richard Fleischer directed Sonja and Destroyer. Coming in at number 2, it was tough, but I'm choosing Conan the Destroyer. And the reason is, and the fact is Conan the Destroyer has a faster pace. There's less time in between each action scene. It's a faster pace. It's funner. And one might argue, what characters in which movie is the best. But I really like Conan the Destroyer because it's a faster pace. It's more colorful. And like I said, I like more entertaining movies nowadays, more rather than disturbing movies. It is a movie where they go to multiple locations. There's great scenery in all 3 movies, but just to run it down real quick, I like Conan the Destroyer better because faster pace. They go to the ice castle on the lake, and I love that whole sequence with Pat Roach as the wizard Toth Amon. I love that. It's my favorite sequence of the movie. And they have the other castle, Shadazar. They have the forest. They have the crypt. There's more different locations that are both unique and fascinating in their own ways. Different locations, more colorful, more interesting than in the first film, even though the first film had it too. You get the ice castle on the lake in Conan the Destroyer. You get uh, the crypt. You have the other castle. You have the forest. I love the scene in the forest where they're kind of camping and talking at night. And so there's just more unique, different places that they visit in Conan the Destroyer. So coming in at number 3, everyone knows, obviously, it's Red Sonja, and most people are going to disagree with me. There's multiple reasons why I like it. In a funny way, it reminds me, in terms of the score by Ennio Morricone, it reminds me of the Vikings, especially when Red Sonja's sister is escaping from that temple when Queen Gedron's soldiers are killing uh, everybody, and they're trying to kill Red Sonja. That music when she's on the line trying to get away from one side of the cliff to the other. The music kind of reminds me of the Vikings with Kirk Douglas when they're trying to capture Janet Leigh and the Vikings with the ships, with them in other parts of the movie. It reminds me of that. Same director, Richard Fleischer. That's fascinating. The same director who directed the Vikings directed Red Sonja. That's fascinating to me. And he directed Conan the Destroyer. And I think Arnold's sword fighting in Red Sonja is actually a little more superior than it is to Conan the Barbarian and Conan the Destroyer. Plus, he probably learned more since then. He practiced for each movie, but by the time the third film comes, he's probably at his peak. His reflexes are quicker in Red Sonja. And even though the villains that he fights in Conan and Conan the Destroyer are better than the villains that he fights in Red Sonja, his reflexes are faster. All these movies have their strengths and weaknesses. Maybe next year, if I do a ranking of them again, it might be flipped. I might like Conan the Barbarian again the best and Conan the Destroyer. Who knows? But as it is right now, and I'm pretty firm in this, I like Red Sonja the best. It's my number 1 of the 3. And here's a few reasons why. It's a faster pace than Conan the Barbarian. Not as serious, not as dramatic. Definitely not if you like more drama and a more... I would say that Conan the Barbarian is the best film of the 3. There's an argument for that. I would not argue against that. It probably is the best. But it's not the most entertaining to me. To me, it's great, but I'm more entertained by the other 2. And Red Sonja, I like Ernie Reyes Jr. in there. Brigitte Nielsen, I think she's great as Red Sonja. I really do. I think she's got charisma for the role. It's probably her best role to me that she's ever played. And I love the revenge story in here. It's disturbing what they did to her. She seeks revenge for her family in here, so that does come back. There are some disturbing aspects, especially about what they did to her at the beginning, but then she's chosen by a higher power to have a sword. Her sword hand basically is going to be great, and she's going to be able to be powerful. In a way, she kind of reminds me of She-Ra, even though it's different. I grew up watching She-Ra and He-Man. For some reason, Red Sonja and Conan the Destroyer kind of has the best of both worlds. You get your disturbing aspects, but you also get your fantasy, kind of fun journey quest aspect to it too. It kind of blends both of them together, and it is, to me, that's really fun. I like the fact that Red Sonja has more overcast scenes, more overcast skies. They all have some, I think. And then Conan Part 1 has a snow scene when they first capture him as a kid and everything. And there's snow-capped mountains. I love that next to the ice castle in Conan the Destroyer. Love that scene. And but Red Sonja, they're not really concerned about the overcast sky, and I'm glad they had some overcast skies in there too. I kind of like that. Red is one of my favorite colors, and I like the fact that they utilize the color red as an artist, the color red in the movie quite a bit. I love red and blue since I was a kid, and I think it comes from my nostalgia for Superman. I was taken to see the Christopher Reeve movies as a baby, as just a little baby. They took me because everyone wanted to see it, so I went along as a little baby, just like one. I don't know how many months old I was, but or a year. First one came out in 78. I was born in 77. I was taken as a baby. And we saw the second one at the drive-in. And then I saw the third and fourth one at the Roxy Theater in Renton. But those are great movies. But yeah, Red Sonja, I love it. I have nostalgia for all three, especially Red Sonja and Conan the Destroyer for some funny reason. Even though I saw Conan the Barbarian first, I have a little more nostalgia, I think. Maybe because as I got older, I got more into the movies. It was more, I was more into them when the second and the third one came out, even though it was only a few years. But I love these movies. Red Sonja is my favorite because it entertains me. I know people can criticize it. I know there's some funny, goofy scenes in there, but it's done in such a charming way. I like it. I like the story of the talisman, and I just enjoy myself more. And you know what? I kind of discovered that I liked Red Sonja. I didn't know I liked it the best. I told myself I like Conan the Barbarian the best. And then later, I was watching Conan the Destroyer more than Conan the Barbarian because I was having funner with it. It's more rewatchable than the first one because the first one, it's more disturbing than the other two, and also it's a little slow in certain areas. I wouldn't classify any of these as slow movies, but Conan the Barbarian does have some slow sequences, especially when he gets the flowers, he's going to the temple to see Thulsa Doom and kind of infiltrate and all that. There's certain scenes in there that are slow. Not so in Conan the Destroyer. From beginning to end, it's a fast pace, no doubt about it. And Red Sonja is fast paced from beginning to end. I was never bored at all. In the first one, I loved it, but there was a couple scenes where I wish they would have cut it either shorter or had a few more fights. But yeah, Conan, I love them all, but Red Sonja is my favorite. And I just wish Arnold would have made more of these sword and sorcery movies when he was younger. I wish they would make like a King Conan now, where he could be on his throne like he's always sitting at the end of the Conan movies and pick up there, because now he's at that age where he'd be king, and they can maybe show how he got there, how he became king at the beginning of the movie, and then show him as king, or maybe make the movie about how he became king. I'm not sure, but I'd love to see another Conan with Arnold as the King Conan. Conan the Conqueror, I think, was a story written to that they never brought to film. But anyway, I like Red Sonja the best. That's my ranking. A lot of people might disagree. I just have more fun with it nowadays. I go with more of the fun movies. That's why when I was a kid, I used to like watching the Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies so much. Now I don't, because there's so many parts in there that I don't want to see innocent people get killed in movies too much at all. But I love when the good guy gets justice for them and wipes them out. That's why I like the Death Wish movies so much, or Clint Eastwood, or a lot of the other actors that I grew up watching. So I do like those justice-driven movies, revenge stories. I love that. But if the innocent people are brutalized too much and for too long, that can turn me off from a film, and then really love it when the good guy gets them. But nowadays, I'm more into movies where I'd rather just watch the whole thing be about justice and have a few disturbing scenes where the bad guys are doing these horrible things and then they get decimated. Rather have that than have the disturbing scenes last too long. Pisses me off, frankly. But I do like justice driven movies. I just have more fun with Conan the Destroyer and Red Sonja more than Conan the Barbarian, but I love all three of them. And I have fun with all three of them, honestly. But especially Conan the Destroyer and Red Sonja. That's my ranking. I know I rambled on probably too long. I hope you enjoyed it. This has been the Late Night Review. Please like and subscribe and share this video. And good night, everybody.